Bom dia, everybody. Gabriel Bortoleto has been confirmed as a Formula One driver for the 2025 season. He will, of course, compete throughout the entire season, driving for Sauber, which will become Audi for 2026. And his teammate during that time will be Nico Hülkenberg. So he's got a lot of experience to draw on there when it comes to that. Now, Gabriel Bortoleto, of course, will be a rookie, one of the 4 different rookies on the grid that have already been confirmed for the 2025 season. He'll be a very young driver as well. Even at the time of the first race in Australia, he'll only be 20 years of age. In fact, he won't turn 21 towards the back end of this 2025 season, with his birthday, I believe, in around October time of the year. So I wanted to have a look and compare him. This is a really good topic that was suggested by a good friend of mine, James. You'll have probably seen him on some of the videos here and there on the F1 Chronicle, and he basically said, look, I think it'd be a good idea to do a video comparing Gabriel Bortoleto's junior career to some of the other great Brazilians in Formula One history. And I said, you know what, mate, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do a video, especially because, you know, we've got a bit to go till the next race in Las Vegas, so we got to churn out some content, we got to produce some stuff. And I thought, with Bortoleto being such an important figure on this channel, really, I mean, one of my best interviews was with him not that long ago, and someone who always draws a big audience, because I know there's quite a few Brazilians who follow this channel as well. I see you guys in the comments quite a bit. So let's compare. Let's have a look at what Bortoleto's career has been like so far compared to some of his other compatriots over the years. So let's go over Bortoleto first, because some of you guys might not be that familiar with him, to be fair. Like I said, he's just 20 years of age. He's currently competing in the Formula 2 Championship. He currently sits top of the F2 standings with just a few more race weekends to go. We've just got Qatar and Abu Dhabi coming up for the final races of the season, and he's already confirmed on the F1 grid for next year. He could win the championship. He'll probably be at least in the top 2. You would imagine it's quite a big fight between him and Isaac Hadjar at the top of those standings. But his rise before this has been something not, you know, this has been sensational, let's be real here, you know. So last season he won the F3 championship in his debut season, was very impressive during that. Before that, he was competing in Italian F4 and FRECA, and interestingly his results in these series were not the best. I mean, he was so young, you know, let's not get away from that, but you know, he was only like 18 years older, so probably one of the youngest drivers in the grid. The highest overall he finished in these was actually Italian F4 back in 2020, when he was only 16 years of age. He finished 5th overall in that, and he finished 6th in FRECA in 2022. He also had a one-off appearance in Brazilian stock cars as well. It's something I'll speak about a bit later more in depth, because some of the drivers that have left Formula One over the years that have been Brazilian have gone back to racing in Brazil in stock cars, and some have been very, very successful. So it's kind of interesting to look at the post-career for some of these F1 drivers. But sticking on the topic for Bortoleto, yeah, extremely impressive. I mean, like I said, could be the F2 champion at 20 years of age. He was the champion of Formula 3 at 19 years of age. I think he was still actually only 18 when he won it, because of where the calendar ends for Formula 3, of course, being so early in the season. F3 already ending now a good few months ago this season, and it would have been the same for last season as well. So yeah, a very, very rapid rise through the support series has got Gabriel Bortoleto. Let's speak about another driver though now. Let's speak about Felipe Nasr, not Massa, he'll come next, but Nazza. Nazza is still, well, up until when Bortoleto suits up for the first time for Sauber, he is currently the most recent Brazilian driver to be a full-time driver. That's a new driver on the grid, I should say. Massa's career actually went longer than Nazza. But Nazza, here we go. It was confusing when these guys were both in Formula 1. I'm already tripping up over the names. Nazza competed in Formula 1 for 2 years between 2015 and 2016, competing in both seasons for the Sauber team. His highest finish in Formula 1 was a 5th place, actually his debut race at the Australian Grand Prix. Before that, he was a test driver for Williams in 2014, competing in some free practice 1 sessions for the team. Before Formula 1 though, he competed in GP2, what is now Formula 2, for 3 seasons. It took him 3 seasons to get out of GP2 and into Formula 1. In fairness, he was very good in 2013, his second season, finishing 4th overall in the standings, but it was a 3rd place overall in 2014 that catapulted him up to Formula 1, him getting his first wins in the series in 2014 as well. Before that, he competed in series such as British Formula 3 and also Formula BMW. He won British F3 in 2011, and Formula BMW, he absolutely dominated that series and won it in 2009 as well. Nazza was born in 1992, so that means that he made his Formula 1 debut at around 22 or 23 years of age, so a few years later than what Bortoleto is doing. When Bortoleto joins Formula, this will be a common kind of yardstick we use throughout this video as well. Bortoleto is obviously going to be 20 years old when he joins F1, like I already explained. When Nazza was 20 years of age, he was just in his first season of GP3, his first of 3 seasons in that series, and he just won British F3 before it as well. So that's a kind of comparison. So when Bortoleto will be joining Formula 1, Nazza was only just into GP2, what is now F2. So that'll be kind of an interesting comparison that we'll do throughout this. So Felipe Massa is next. There we go. So Massa had a very long Formula 1 career. He competed in Formula 1 between 2002 and 2017. Despite initially meaning to retire after 2016, Williams had to bring him back because Mercedes took Valtteri Bottas from them. Massa made his F1 debut at a similar age, to be fair, as what Nazza did as well. 2002 would mean that Felipe Baby was only 21 years of age when he got his first Formula 1 start. So he was very young as well. And to be fair, Massa was, of course, so close to winning the championship in 2008, as I'm sure he knows, and he's still trying to challenge people on that, of course. But yeah, he was very, very successful. And to be fair, he had a stellar junior career before then as well. He competed in what is now Formula 2, what was back then Formula 3000, that's the equivalent effectively. He dominated the season in 2001 before joining Formula 1 with Sauber in 2002. He finished first overall in Euro F3. Before that, he was competing in Formula Renault 2000. I mean, an equivalent for that nowadays is probably Italian F4, maybe Freca. It is hard to equivalate these different series going so far back. This is over 20 years ago now, but he still won it. His junior career, to be fair, Massa's was incredible. But again, at 20 years of age, the same age as what Bortoleto was, he basically was in Euro F3. He just won the Formula Renault 2000 titles. If you're being generous, you'd probably say he was like a year ahead, was Bortoleto, than Massa in terms of the overall quality of the racing and the achievements that he'd had up until that point. So Bortoleto, again, younger than the driver that I'm talking about, Massa, but only by a year or so. I was stunned when looking back at Massa's junior career. It was nothing short of stellar. Next up, let's talk about Rubinho. Rubens Barrichello, for a while the most experienced man in the history of Grand Prix racing. He competed in Formula 1 between 1993 and 2011. Prior to this, he competed in Formula 3000, just like Massa did, and just like Massa, he only spent 1 season there. He didn't win the championship, interestingly. He finished 3rd overall in that, but still, only 1 season, and then went straight up to Formula 1 after that. Before that, he competed in series such as British F3, which he managed to win in 1991, and also Brazilian Formula Ford and Formula 3 as well. Being successful in those championships, he won the Formula Opel Lotus Euro Series in 1990 as well. Rubinho made his F1 debut at around the age of 21. Again, very, very young, in fairness. And at the age of 20, he was effectively competing in Formula 3000 after winning British F3. So again, these Brazilian drivers, they're coming to F1 really, really young. This is not a new trend from Bortoleto. In fact, Nazza was a relative dinosaur joining at like 22 or whatever. So, just to put it in perspective there. Since Formula 1, though, just to give a quick mention to Barrichello's career since Formula 1 because he's still racing. He's in his 50s now, but he's still racing. He races mainly in Brazilian stock cars, where he was champion of the series in 2014 and 2022. So go Rubinho, still doing it in the tin tops over in Brazil. That's fantastic to see. Of course, Barrichello was never a champion, just like Massa, but he came close. Well, came second, I should say, in two different years, 2002 and 2004 as well. While he was driving for Ferrari, had many wins. He also drove the Brawn in 2009, which was the championship-winning car in the hands of Jenson Button. He was a very, very good driver, was Rubinho. If you want to learn more about him, go over to my tier list with the most successful, the best drivers to never win a Formula 1 World Championship. You find out more about him there. But yeah, very, very interesting. So next up, we've got to talk, the last one I'm going to talk about here, Ayrton Senna. Now, Senna is my favourite Formula 1 driver of all time. I firmly believe he's the best Formula 1 driver of all time. That is just my opinion, of course. Senna competed in Formula 1 between 1984 and when he passed away very untimely in 1994. Again, he was a young driver for those days coming through to Formula 1. Before F1, in making his debut in that series when he was 24 years of age, which again was very young for the time. That was a very young driver. Nowadays it's about average, but back then it was very, very young. He dominated the British Formula 3 World Championship in 1983, winning it in his only season in the series, of course, there as well. Before that, he took part in series such as British Formula 3, European Formula 4 2000, and also Formula 4 1600 as well. And he pretty much won all of them, including winning the Macau Grand Prix as well in 1983. He won the European Formula 4 2000 Championship, British Formula 4 2000, he won that. Formula 4 1600, he won that. He was born in 1960, was Ayrton Senna, so believe it or not, according to my records at least, he hadn't yet graduated until to single-seaters at the same age as what Bortoleto was making his F1 debut. So Ayrton Senna was still karting, I believe, he was still karting in 1980 when he was 20 years of age, same age as what Bortoleto is now, when Bortoleto will make his F1 debut. So that again shows you how young Bortoleto is. Of course, Ayrton Senna made up for lost time, you know, 3-time world champion, 65 pole positions, 41 victories from about 160 or so starts. You know, so not exactly a late bloomer by any means. He came into F1 and was an absolute sensation straight away. But I do think it's very interesting just to note the age differences here. So there you go, guys. There's surprisingly little between all these Brazilian drivers, but there's a lot of variety in terms of the success when it comes to, you've got a triple world champion, one of the greatest of all time in Ayrton Senna. You've got two guys that were very, very close to winning championships in Barrichello and Massa, and Nazza was just an average Formula 1 driver. With the greatest respect to him, he was an average Formula 1 driver by most standards. So yeah, really interesting going through that, guys. Bortoleto basically, I'm sure he'll become the youngest Brazilian Formula 1 driver of all time when he makes his debut in Australia 2025, and one of the youngest drivers in the history of Formula 1, full stop. You know, just to put it into comparison, he's a similar, you know, he's only a couple of years older than the likes of the youngest drivers to ever make their debut in the sport, such as Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, and Ollie Bearman as well, and Lance Stroll. But the less said about Stroll, the better. But yeah, for some more F1 content, do keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com, guys. Would you like these kind of videos, these historical ones, these longer videos? I want to hear your thoughts on it, of course, and we'll see you very soon for some more F1 content right here on the F1Chronicle.com, guys. Bom dia, have a good time, obrigado, and we'll see you very soon.